How's everyone doing today? This is JJ Domination, and I am here with my first NBA 2K video. And what we're going to be talking about today is, are the Warriors ruining the NBA? It's one of the biggest topics in sports ever since DeMarcus Cousins signed this contract. Is right here. I'm just going to play some off-ball defense so I don't really influence a whole lot that's happening. But anyway, are the Warriors ruining the NBA? That has been a question that's been going on ever since DeMarcus Cousins signed with this team. And before I answer it, obviously I got to talk about it. So, a championship team just continues to get better and better. That is the ambition of a champion, if you ask me. So, what we're going to say right here is, obviously this team was 73-9, the best record you can have as a team in the NBA. Well, that's the best record ever. The other one used to be the 96 Bulls at 72-10. This team broke it by a game, and they did it without Kevin Durant. And as you see right there, I did not go to the screen, but they did it without KD. They had Harrison Barnes, and they had Andrew Bogut, and guys like that. So, I mean, it's not like they did it with world beaters. They did it with, like, Steph, Clay, and then they did it with like Harrison Barnes and Bogut and Iguodala, Livingston, and all that. So what does the Warriors do? They're not just content, you know. They blew a 3-1 lead. And a championship caliber team, they're like, you know what? We want to get better. So how do you get better? You add a free agent. And it's not like they really added a whole lot of free agents. They've really been doing it through the draft. You know, they drafted Steph Curry. They drafted Klay Thompson. They drafted Draymond Green. You know, they drafted, you know, like a good portion of their players. Now, they did sign, you know, some veteran players. They brought in Iguodala. They brought in Sean Livingston. You know, they brought in, like, David West. It's not like they just, you know, went after, you know, like some all-star caliber players until now, but then they finally signed one. And it's like the world is going to end, pretty much. So, basically what I'm saying is, I don't think the Warriors are ruining the NBA, but we're going to talk about it some more. So, here's what I think is going on. So, they brought in KD, and yes, they win 2 championships. Yes, the Warriors are dominating the NBA. But if only every franchise were as smart as the Warriors, it wouldn't be a big deal. You know, in the NFL, we don't really complain about the Patriots. You know, we just want to see who can beat them. We're not really complaining about them being good because it's not like their defense was really that good last year. It was just Tom Brady doing Tom Brady things. We don't complain about Alabama being the best college football team out there. We don't complain about, you know, the Yankees overspending and like getting Stanton and doing their thing in the MLB. We don't complain about, you know, we don't complain about boxing and like hockey. We don't complain about a lot of stuff. But in the NBA, we're complaining about a team that just wants to keep improving so they don't go on a decline. So that's basically where I'm getting at here. So everyone's upset with the Warriors bringing in DeMarcus Cousins. I understand. He signed a 1-year $5.3 million deal. And I'm going to get into that in just a moment. So, DeMarcus Cousins. Let's talk about DeMarcus Cousins. Let's talk about his career. Let's talk about what he's been through as an NBA player. Let's talk about all that. So, here's what's been going on with DeMarcus Cousins. So, he was drafted by the Sacramento Kings. He wasn't really appreciated by his franchise. By the Sacramento Kings. Vlade Divac said you can't really build a team around these guys, or you can't build a team around DeMarcus Cousins. That was the narrative out there. It's like, you just can't. And then he gets traded to New Orleans for basically Buddy Hield. And then, you know, he's with New Orleans. He's teaming up with the best power forward in basketball, Anthony Davis. And, you know, that's a really good tandem. The only thing is, no offense to the big men out there, especially the elite big men, but it's just not a big man's league these days. It's really point guard oriented, and it's really controlled by like LeBron and Kevin Durant. So it's small forward and guard oriented, in my opinion, it's more wing oriented. You have to be a good wing player to really make an impact in the NBA. But guards do run the show, obviously. It's not a big man's league. They're just there. They're just there putting up numbers, getting the boards, maybe a few assists here and there. If you're a 20 and 10 type of big, 20 points, 10 assists per game type of big, you're going to last in the NBA. Especially if you have a post game, if you're able to stretch the floor a bit, you're going to have, a good career. You're going to have longevity. And that's always much needed. But DeMarcus Cousins, he was with the Pelicans. Had an opportunity to take 2 years, $40 million, but DeMarcus Cousins being the best center in basketball, or arguably a top 3 center, said, I'm worth more than what you're offering. I'm worth more than $20 million when I'm healthy. And I agree. I think he is worth more than $20 million. But this was like during the season. This was like before he tore his Achilles. And yeah, I know Anthony Davis wore the jersey number or whatever of DeMarcus Cousins when he was hurt. Great gesture. That doesn't influence a guy staying or going. I don't really understand that. It's good courtesy, it's kind and all that, but like if you really think that's going to influence whether a man stays or doesn't, you're tripping. But DeMarcus Cousins, a grown man, made his decision. He was like, all right, well, if the Pelicans aren't going to offer me, I would like to go to the Lakers. Join up with LeBron. Obviously, he wants a second superstar. He wasn't really envisioning JaVale McGee and Lance Stevenson. He wants like a second superstar. And I get that. I understand that from all sorts of different levels. But the Pelicans didn't even offer him. During the free agency phase, they offered him before he tore his Achilles. He didn't take it. But they didn't offer him through this free agency phase where it's really important to get contract offers. So here's what ends up happening, right? They offer Julius Randle a contract. Now, Julius Randle plays power forward, can kind of play center because, based on the way he plays basketball, he's more physical, he's more in the paint. He's like a Zach Randolph-esque player out there, except he's a little bit more athletic. So they signed Julius Randle, and the only way they got Julius Randle is because he was a restricted free agent, and, they renounced the rights on him and all sorts of other stuff. So they renounced the rights on Julius Randle, them being the Lakers, and that's what causes him to go to the Pelicans. So now DeMarcus Cousins feels like, well, his job is, not necessarily taken, but he feels like, oh, so this is the guy you're bringing in to replace me? A guy who can't even touch my status? So DeMarcus Cousins being frustrated, being angry, it makes sense. Him being all frustrated, him not appreciating the direction that these guys are going in, them being the Pelicans. They don't want to build around DeMarcus Cousins in Sacramento. They don't really appreciate DeMarcus Cousins. Now, Anthony Davis does. But even Anthony Davis made a comment by saying, well, I thought like the team was playing better without him on the court. Like, no offense, but you just don't say that, dude. There's just things that you just don't say. That's one of them. I get it. Anthony Davis is the all-star player. He has the final say, pretty much, in terms of like the locker room morale and stuff like that. You don't just come out and say, oh yeah, I thought like we were playing better without you. Really, that's just a jab at DeMarcus Cousins. So DeMarcus Cousins, all pissed, all furious, not really appreciating the negative comments that are being thrown his way. He's like, you know what? I'm really about to screw over the entire NBA. I'm going to go on this mid-level exception because every team has one. The Warriors haven't signed anyone to it because Nick Young is still a free agent. And I just feel like that was a hell of a move on DeMarcus Cousins' part. Yeah, it's not like the move anyone wanted to see, but it's a hell of a move nonetheless. So he ends up going to the Warriors for this mid-level exception. We all know he's worth much more than a mid-level exception. So here's what ends up happening. He goes over there. Now, he's still recovering from the Achilles injury, so it's not like he's going to come back immediately at the start of the season and just go on a tear. You know, obviously it's going to take months. He may not come back till January. Who knows? They may sit him out for most of the regular season, let him come back and fizzle back in the last month, and then get the playoff run going. That's how I envision it happening. You don't need to rush DeMarcus Cousins coming back, but you best believe on this contract he is going to have something to prove to the entire NBA and to himself and to his critics. And I expect him to come back and go off. Now, he's not going to have a whole lot of touches because obviously Steph and KD and Clay already take the touches in terms of like the shots and the usage rate. Cousins may have to have the JaVale McGee role. JaVale McGee got points early, but mainly he's just there to get rebounds, create space. He's there to be a true center in the NBA. He's not there to be this world beater at the center position. But I do expect DeMarcus Cousins to be DeMarcus Cousins. So, at the end of the day, are the Warriors really ruining the NBA? No. I feel like the other 29 teams are ruining the NBA because they can't keep up with Golden State. Now, I'm not a Golden State fan. I don't hate Golden State either because they drafted most of the players. They just brought in 2 big free agents. One of them being Kevin Durant, which I was upset about at first because, you know, obviously just like everyone else was saying, it's a weak move. You know, that's not what a champion caliber player does. And then DeMarcus Cousins, I understand why he signed. He's frustrated. He's trying to prove to the league. You know, what about me? You really not going to offer the best center in the NBA a contract? So I get where he's coming from that sense. Anyway, guys, that's really it for the video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And like I said, man, the Warriors aren't ruining the NBA. The rest of the league are ruining it because it's not competitive. If you can't keep up with Golden State, just don't even show up. I feel like the Celtics are one of the few teams that can actually keep up with them. But like I said, you guys...